Hi everybody, welcome into the Saints Sports Network as our athletic coaches returns to the airwaves. Saints On Site, the rebranded name as we take you inside Limestone College Athletics. Our show today comes your way from Burns Automotive here in Gaffney, the Chevy dealership. We're going to be talking with the owner himself, Sam Burns, a little later in the show. But spring sports about to move into full swing at the Rock. And as a matter of fact, today we're going to talk about Limestone softball with the head coach of the Saints, Amy Yates. Big season for the softball team a season ago, and we'll see what the 2016 season has in store for Coach Amy Yates and company as they will open their season in just a few days. The Limestone baseball program already got its 2016 season underway with a pair of games last weekend at Francis Marion. Had the home opener out at Founders FCU Stadium on Tuesday of this week, and a big weekend series. Baseball coach Chris Wiley will join us as well. So that and much more coming up on this edition of Saints On Site after you see these and hear these messages on the Saints Sports Network. Welcome back, everyone, as Saints On Site continues from Burns Automotive here in Gaffney. It's a spring sports show today. Softball time now with the head coach of the Saints and Amy Yates. And first off, Amy, congratulations on a fantastic 2015 season, the best ever in program history. But just to top that off, you and I hadn't talked about this yet, but you got some extra hardware on your left hand. Congratulations to you on your recent engagement. Tell us about that.
Well, thank you very much. I'm very excited. It's been about a year since I got engaged. Not quite, since after softball season last year. So it is new, but wedding on the beach upcoming this summer, so that'll be exciting.
Now, last year was the best season in program history. Got to the NCAA regionals, swept both the regular season and tournament championships in Conference Carolinas. And I don't think many folks realize how difficult that is to do, but you and the team were able to do that in 15.
Yeah, we were, which was the first time that we were able to do that. We've had some regular season championships in the past, but to put it together in 3 days in that tournament when everybody's gunning for you, when you go in as that number one seed, and we were excited and had a young group, but they were able to put it together and pull it through.
13 wins, 16 tries within conference play. You finished 28-15 overall. What was the experience like getting to an NCAA regional last spring?
Oh, it was fabulous. I had never been there personally. The team had never been there. So for those young ladies to get that experience, and many of them got it as freshmen and sophomores. We had just one senior on the team last year, only 3 juniors. So very young squad, and for them to know what it's like, there's a lot of different rules and regulations at regionals, and definitely getting those nerves out of the way for that first one. And going to North Georgia is not easy, and playing on field turf for the first time. So there were a lot of things that they were able to get used to for their first time around. And
Coach Yates touched on it just a few moments ago. Perhaps the easiest and the most commonest things are actually when you hit the field for a regional and that first pitch is thrown, because there's so many things that go on behind the scene, from lining up your transportation to getting your hotel assignments to attending some regionals, even have banquets. So I don't know if you're like me, but it seems like things are the calmest when the game actually starts.
Oh, definitely, and just the warm-ups and the rules. You've got 8 minutes to do this. You've got to be here. You've got to be there. You've got to all match to a T, and just various things that you may overlook during the regular season, and they're not overlooking them. NCAA's on top of everything.
Now, Amy Yates is our guest during this segment of Saints On Site. You will get your season underway this coming weekend as you have Brevard coming in on Saturday. And, of course, you'll play your home games once again this year at the Cherokee Recreation Complex. So let's touch a little bit on that schedule that you have this year.
The schedule should be, very challenging early. We have a lot of tough regional opponents that were in their various regionals this past year. Some SAC opponents and some Peach Belt opponents. So we, really got to play well in February, but that'll certainly get us ready for our conference play once March rolls around.
And that's been one of the staples of the Limestone softball program, is a rather robust non-conference schedule, and we've really seen it pay off once you hit conference play.
Oh, definitely. The girls learn very early that they've got to come ready to compete every single day, and nobody's rolling over to give you victories. So you've got to go out and fight, and you've got to play your best. And sometimes even when you play your best, you still may not get that W. So you really got to learn that lesson early on, and then when we get to that conference play, maybe we're a little bit more mentally prepared than we were at the beginning of February.
Now the pressure is on for Coach Yates. She talked about the youth that she had on the team a season ago. The preseason poll recently came out. Limestone is #1 there. The Saints, your team's had a target on its back now for the last couple of years because of the success that you've had within league play. But now on a national level, a lot of folks are coming to gun after your softball team. Let's talk about some of the key players. I know it's a team sport. Let's talk about some of the key players that return from that championship team of 15.
Yeah, those young players, now that they do have that experience, we are expecting a little more out of them, and they know that. But Josie Weber on the mound, she did a fantastic job for us as a freshman. She won 17 games and only lost 5, 2 of those coming at regionals. So only losing 3 during the regular season was certainly a very strong freshman year for her. Bailey Mabry, we can't have a conversation about softball without bringing up Bailey for the last 3 years. She's hit, close to the 400 clip her freshman and sophomore year. So we're, hoping for that again as her junior year. Erica Hansen's a senior catcher who's, been a great leader for us. So she's one that we're really leaning on behind the plate. Tessa Fawcett at shortstop. She's a captain as well as the other 2 that I just previously mentioned, Bailey and Erica. But Tessa had a really strong freshman year as well. And we've got a newcomer in Caroline Hill from SMC, and she's an upstate product as well. So we're looking forward to seeing a lot of offensive output from those young ladies.
Now, what some folks may not know, many do know your story as far as you were a standout at Limestone, cut your teeth as an assistant coach at Limestone, had the opportunity to move on to your first head coaching job at a Conference Carolinas rival, and then the longtime head coach with the Limestone program, Jimmy Martin, encountered some health issues, and you get called and were asked to come back to the Limestone family, and you made that decision to leave your first ever head coaching post and come back to the Saints. Talk a little bit about that.
Oh, well, it was a no-brainer for me to come back home, where I played my 4 years, and Jimmy and I are very close, and so to come back here and be somebody that he trusted to take over the program while he was out, recovering was an honor for me to even be invited to come back. But it was definitely a no-brainer. I enjoyed my time at Pfeiffer. I learned a lot of very valuable lessons that are going to last me throughout my entire coaching career. But to come back home and to come back to Limestone and be in the blue again was an easy decision for me.
Finally, I have to close out. We're going to circle back a bit to the wedding coming up on the beach for Coach Yates here. What was the most pressure-packed situation that you've had to deal with recently? Playing in the championship game for the Conference Carolinas tournament, playing in the NCAA Division II regionals, appearing on Saints on Site, or when you got asked the question by your fiance, will you marry me? Which one was the most pressure-packed?
Oh, well, interesting fact is many of those happened on the 26th of their given month. So the wedding will be on the 26th as well. But the biggest point of my career was April 26th and winning that conference tournament championship. So it was a great date. And my birthday is also the 26th. So it ended up being a very important number for me this past year.
Coach, listen, thanks so much for your time, and we wish you the best of luck as you tip off your 2016 season this weekend at the Cherokee Recreational Complex against Brevard. More on the Limestone softball program and the 2016 schedule available online at GoLimestoneSaints.com.
All right, thanks for having me on.
Limestone softball coach Amy Yates. Stay with us. There's still a lot more to come here from Burns Automotive. We're going to talk baseball with the head coach of the Saints and Chris Wiley a little later, but when we come back, we are going straight to the top of the ladder here at Burns with Sam Burns, the man himself. That when we continue after these messages on the Saints Sports Network. Welcome back, everyone, as Saints on Site continues from Burns Automotive here in Gaffney. It's a special spring sports edition today. We just talked with Limestone softball coach Amy Yates. We're going to go to the baseball diamonds with Coach Chris Wiley, who's beginning his second season, coming up a little bit later. But right now, we have the opportunity to be joined by the person himself here at Burns Automotive Chevrolet here in Gaffney, and Sam Burns. And Sam, want to take this opportunity, for being such a loyal sponsor of the Saints Sports Network, but we also want to thank you for allowing us to come into your dealership today and into our show.
Well, Fabian, it's good to have y'all here. We think a lot of Limestone, and especially Limestone sports. Looking outside and looking at the weather and thinking that it's softball and baseball season, it's hard to imagine, but hey, it's here, isn't it?
Seems like it gets earlier every season. We want to take this opportunity to allow you to talk about your dealership. Of course, I'm a satisfied customer. My wife and I had a very easy experience in here last March when we came in and got her a brand new car. A lot of folks are worried when they come to a dealership. You know, they don't know what to expect. Sometimes things are a little over aggressive, but let's talk about you and the dealership and your approach.
Well, I've been in Gaffney for 25 years now. My father started the business here in Gaffney in 1984, so we've been here a little over 30 years. But as far as the business overall, my grandfather started, the Burns family has been selling Chevrolets in the upstate since 1923, so 90 plus years. For us, you know, it's just a family thing. We try and treat our customers as family. Here in a minute, you might hear my grandson in the background hollering. I've got my wife here, my daughter here, my grandson here. It's just a family business, and we try and treat everybody that way.
Let's talk about some of the advantages to visiting with you and your salesman here at Burns of Gaffney. There was a lot of detail to follow up after the sale, and you have some good warranties.
We have a limited lifetime powertrain warranty. Now, that was a mouthful. What that means is that as long as you keep your maintenance up on your vehicle, then we'll guarantee the engine, transmission, and rear end of your car. So as long as you own it, that's taken care of. The manufacturer will take care of it for the first 36 months. Most everything on the car, except for your wear and tear items. And then after that, they'll go 5 years and up to 60,000 miles on a 2016. But at Burns, again, we want to treat our people the way we want to be treated, and we've extended that period for a lifetime. So if you have a car, you keep one, and you put a lot of miles on it, this is going to be made just for you, that we'll take care of you.
And that last part that Mr. Burns just talked about is especially key to me and my wife with all the traveling that she does. You have not only obviously the new selection here at the dealership, but you also have a pre-owned inventory. Before we talk about some of your new specials, let's talk about what you may have as far as the pre-owned lot is concerned, because I notice you don't keep cars here much.
No, we pride ourselves in selecting the right vehicles. Most of the vehicles we have are local trade-ins, but then myself and my son and our sales manager go out and we buy other vehicles. We hand pick them, we hand select them. This isn't something that we just go out and say, okay, we need 10 of these. One by one, we select these vehicles and they go through our service department with 128 point inspection, and we make sure that it's something that I would feel good about putting any one of my children or grandchildren in. Same for y'all. I want to make sure that the cars are standing tall.
As far as the new inventory goes, we're talking about small cars, large cars, a wide variety of trucks out there, and I know you've got one special that you'd like to talk about as far as a new 2016 is concerned.
Our 2016 Crew Cab Silverados have up to $8,000 in rebates and discounts. That's a tremendous bargain right there. It has a new drivetrain in it as far as the engine and transmission. You get better gas mileage. We've talked about what the warranty is. I'm driving one now. You just can't beat it.
And of course, there's only one way, Mr. Burns, for folks to find out what all is here at Burns Automotive of Gaffney, whether it's a pre-owned vehicle or whether it's a new car. There's only one way to find out what the inventory is, and that's to come on out.
We actually have a couple of ways, so let me make clear that. The best way is, I think, I'm old-fashioned. You come down, you lay your hands on it, you see it. So come down and see us at 101 Peachoid Road. We're right down from the water tower, right off of Highway 11. You can't miss us, I-85 and Highway 11. The next way would be doing what you're doing now. Listen to the radio, look at the local media, and we advertise there. But burnsofgaffney.com, www.burnsofgaffney.com, you can see all our inventory and check it. But again, we'd love to come down here make you part of our family, just come see us.
Listen, Sam, thanks so much, not only for your support again of Limestone College's Saints Sports Network, but also allowing us to come into your dealership here today and do Saints on-site.
David, it's our pleasure. Thank you for being here.
Sam Burns will be back talking baseball with the head coach of the Saints, Chris Wiley, after this on the Saints Sports Network. Welcome back, everyone. Our final segment of Saints on Site here at Burns Automotive of Gaffney, talking now with the Limestone baseball coach and Chris Wiley, second year at the helm of the program. Good to see you, my friend.
Thank you, Fabian. Good to see you. Good to be here.
How many baseball games will you have played before the Super Bowl?
We're going on 6, I guess you could say. And it gets earlier and earlier every year, that's for sure. The good thing was this year with the NCAA allowing us to open up a few days before February 1st allowed us to switch a home-and-home series with Francis Marion and get it in for a weekend, so that way kids weren't missing class, and that way we could get going earlier than normal. But it cut down on the preparation time, that's for sure, with kids coming back on January 10th. It only really gave us 17 practice days to get ready for the open.
Well, it just shows you the added significance of fall ball these days. Last year, you took over the program after several seasons as serving as an assistant coach, and we were mentioning the other day you end up going 10-14 within conference play, which is a very respectable first-year mark within Conference Carolinas play with a new coaching staff, particularly when you had the murderer's row that was at the beginning of your conference slate versus towards the end of that.
Sure, absolutely, and that was the hardest thing going in the first year was just having that murderer's row early, was not losing the attention of the players and the thought process and the goal oriented of the players to stay through all year, because we knew once we got past those first 4 weekends we were going to be okay.
Now, you had your home opener on Tuesday of this week, a big win over Carson Newman, beat them by a run, and you use that like you will see a lot of times early on in the season. I think it was 5 or 6 different pitchers that you used. So for broadcasters, that's a nightmare, and for statisticians trying to enter all that, it was a 2-inning rotation for each of the pitchers. But boy, you were able to close it out with a backup catcher. You were able to close it out with a freshman on the mound.
That's right, and that was the good thing. We actually had a couple freshmen that get put in key situations in that game, which were big assets to us, especially down the road. And that was the thing about only having 17 days to prepare for opening day. Most of the arms aren't fully in shape enough to be ready to go for 5 or 6 innings. So it helps us out. Plus, it helps us out on the other side of now we put guys in situations where you always question whether they're ready to go or not. So now you put more guys in those situations. So you figure things out a lot earlier.
Now let's quickly touch on your schedule here for 2016. You've got a lot of teams from the north that are coming down this year. In fact, you're going to play a big-time series this weekend, get a lot of games in a short period of time as St. Elmsome comes to Founders FCU Stadium at Bob Prevett Field this weekend.
That's right, and that's one good thing about just the northern teams wanting to come down. In the next couple weekends, we play a lot of schools we traditionally usually play in lacrosse, which always helps us out as far as people know who the schools are. Plus, the northern schools are always looking to come south to play early. We used to go to Florida and play a lot early, and just for the way the temperature and weather is these days, we're getting about the same weather we usually get in Florida here, so it's just a lot easier to play a lot of home games. Plus, on the other side of it, playing those 4-game series, it cuts down on midweek games as well, so it also helps out on pitching down the stretch.
One cosmetic change to FCU Stadium this year, and I don't even know how to refer to it other than you got a big video scoreboard out there now that has all the player headshots. I was watching Mikey Sanders and the guys trying to operate that during the ball game on Tuesday. Boy, that's worth just coming out to the ball field itself.
Absolutely, and it really changes the student-athlete experience for our players to be able to walk up to the plate, look up and see your picture and stats up on the scoreboard. It really changes the student-athlete experience, and that's just the start of the new cosmetic stuff that's getting ready to happen as far as the whole complex is concerned.
Let's close out. I know you have a number of players involved in the baseball program, and it may be unfair to ask you to talk about one or two, but how about some of those that are expected to be key contributors this year, Coach Wiley?
Sure, absolutely. We have a transfer shortstop from Wake Forest and Zach Piazza, who was really the anchor as far as the offensive side of things. He got a lot of play last year in the ACC, so he's an ACC caliber kid. So he's a really big part of our lineup. We do have a lot of freshmen out there, Chase Allen being one at third base. You never know what you're going to get out of a freshman, especially on the hot corner. But in another 2 years, he's going to be a really, really special kid. And then some transfers in on the mound. Anders DeShields, for one instance, and then you got the hometown kid in Brian Munsterman. So we got a lot of good things going on. The future is very, very bright, especially as young as we are. We're really young this year, so if we can add some depth on the pitching side of it for next year, we're going to be really, really good.
And of course, for more on Coach Wiley and the Limestone baseball program, simply log online at GoLimestoneSaints.com. Got a lot of home games coming up in the near future. Coach, I want to thank you for your time coming out and joining us today.
Well, I appreciate it, and look forward to seeing everybody out at games.
Saints baseball coach Chris Wiley. Now, our next show, Saints on Site, will come your way on the 18th of this month. More details, our location, and our lineup of coaches' guests will be released later at GoLimestoneSaints.com. Want to thank Mikey Sanders, our producer, director for today's show, and we also want to thank Sam Burns and his staff for hosting us here at Burns Automotive. We'll see you down the road, everyone. This has been Saints on Site on the Saints Sports Network.